Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to episode number 1004. Just like Chris Jericho's list of 1004 holds of NoDQ video here on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel. Thank you guys very much for your continued support of NoDQ video. Again, the best thing you can do to show your support is to spread the word. Share this video on social media. We are just 1 week away until the WWE No Mercy pay-per-view. I will be there in Los Angeles. I will be doing live videos on the channel, so stay tuned for that. And if you're in LA, come join us for our pre-show meetup. A link will be in the description box where you can RSVP. Now, with that being said, let's get down to your questions. First one today comes from Austin Allen. Been going back and forth watching the old NoDQ Q&A, and a question was on there that could still be asked today. How should Kane retire? I'm not sure what I said in the past about this. Not every WWE star needs to go out as WWE champion, but in Kane's case, I would like to see him get a big moment. Kane is one of those major characters in WWE history, one of the most successful gimmick characters, arguably the second most successful gimmick character after The Undertaker. Kane really took off, and when Kane first started, I figured at the time Kane would just be a temporary character. I figured he would come in, he would be built strong for a while, and he would be the same as Giant Gonzalez and King Kong Bundy, the fake Undertaker. He would be brought in, built strong, and then put over Undertaker and then be put to pasture. But Kane had longevity. The character really connected with the audience, and Kane became one of the fixtures in WWE for many years. We've seen the evolution of Kane, just like with The Undertaker. Kane evolved, the character changed, he lost the mask, he changed his look several times. He went corporate at one point. Kane, no doubt, is one of the all-time great characters in WWE, so I would like to see him get a proper send-off rather than just him fade away into obscurity. I'd like to see him come back and maybe have one last run and one more final WrestleMania match. He doesn't need to be world champion or anything, but give him one big final match to end his career on a high note. I'd like to see that. I think the fans would like to see that as well. And on the topic from Smirtaza, do you think Kane should have a last run in WWE, which I just addressed, and which Kane did you like better, Demon or Corporate Kane? Definitely Demon Kane, but I think that the corporate character was a good change and it gave his character some more longevity. The idea that he could be like Jekyll and Hyde, he could be normal in the suit and then snap at any moment's notice. I think that that was a nice change to his character, and it's something you need to do to keep the character fresh. So I was a fan of Corporate Kane, but no doubt the original masked Demon Kane I still think will be the most popular incarnation of Kane. And if Kane is to come back and have one last run, I would like to see him back as the original Demon Kane, maybe even in full bodysuit with the mask, and let him have one final send-off with his original gimmick. I'd like to see that if he comes back for one more run. This one comes from David Anderson. Do you think Paul Heyman will turn on Brock Lesnar at No Mercy because he sees Braun as the new beast in WWE? I have gotten this question a lot when there's a different opponent for Brock Lesnar. I got the question when Samoa Joe was the opponent. I've gotten the question when Roman Reigns was Brock's opponent. I'd like to see it happen. I've mentioned this several times. I'd like to see Paul Heyman turn against Brock Lesnar at some point and go with the new monster. The moment where Heyman thinks that Brock Lesnar is a thing of the past, Heyman jumps to the next big thing. To me, that really goes in line with what Paul Heyman's character is all about. Heyman, the character, is this slimy guy who will look at the money and he'll turn his back on his best friend. I'm not sure who said it. Heyman would turn on his own mother for a buck. It might have been Triple H. It's somebody said that line about him. And that's what Paul Heyman's character is all about. So I think at some point you have to have Lesnar be on his own and have Heyman go with a new person. Braun Strowman, that would be great. I'd love to see it happen, but I'm not counting on it happening. I would be surprised if it does happen. It would be a nice surprise, though. I think Heyman going with Strowman makes perfect sense, and it's a great way to have Lesnar lose, because Lesnar would get screwed, and then you could have the chase. You can have Lesnar chase Strowman and try to get his revenge. He can do that on anybody, but Strowman is a great choice. It would have been a great choice with Samoa Joe. Strowman would be a great choice as well. Strowman doesn't really need Heyman. I mean, I think Joe could benefit more. What do you guys think? Would Heyman be better off with Samoa Joe or Braun Strowman? Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about that. This one comes from Kyle Mitchell. With Shaking My Head, or as it used to be known, Stephanie McMahon Helmsley appearing on SmackDown Live, could this be an indication of the beginning of the end of the brand split? Your thoughts? No, I don't think it's the end of the brand split. I think the brand split will continue for the time being. I think that Stephanie was there to add more drama to the storyline and give it some more believability. Stephanie has been gone since WrestleMania, so for her to appear, that's a pretty big deal. The only negative to it, I think the bigger negative than her appearing on SmackDown, I mean, she's Stephanie, so she can appear on either show, first of all, even though she's in charge of Raw. But I think the bigger issue was the fact that right after that, on the Mae Young Classic final, you had both Triple H and Stephanie coming out there and acting like nothing was wrong, and to me, that hurt the believability of the whole thing more than anything else. The fact that Triple H was there and he did not come out to help his father-in-law. So that was the big logic hole in that whole storyline. The fact that they did that Mae Young Classic segment literally 15-20 minutes after Vince got destroyed by Kevin Owens. You had Triple H and Stephanie out there all smiles doing the big celebration. So that was the one big issue. But then again, not everybody who watches SmackDown is watching the Mae Young Classic. Still, you know, I think it hurt the believability of it just a little bit. This one comes from Turbonius. Should AJ Styles drop the US title to Baron Corbin to get pushed back up to the top of SmackDown's card? Mahal versus Styles? I absolutely think AJ should be back in the world title picture. Jinder Mahal as the world champion is not cutting it for me. I've said this many times, and quite frankly, if John Cena comes back to SmackDown and beats Mahal, I'm not a fan of that either. I think Nakamura should beat him. I think AJ Styles should feud with Baron Corbin for a couple months and then drop the title to Corbin, maybe Survivor Series, something like that. And then I think AJ should win the Royal Rumble and then face Nakamura for the title at WrestleMania and let that be the WWE title match. Don't think it's going to happen, though. That is my dream match scenario for WrestleMania, but my gut feeling is Cena's going to be the one to beat Mahal, which is what I expected all along. I thought it was going to happen at SummerSlam. They might save it for WrestleMania. John Cena beating Jinder Mahal. I think it's going to happen because John Cena is going for that record 17th world title, and WWE likes to do the predictable American hero conquers the evil foreigner storyline, and I just have this feeling it's going to be Cena. Cena's going to do it for America and beat the evil foreigner and win his record 17th title, maybe at WrestleMania. If it's John Cena versus Jinder Mahal and Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, that is not going to be a very appealing WrestleMania for me personally. I'd much rather see AJ Styles versus Jinder, or not Jinder, Nakamura for the title, and then do Cena versus Reigns 2 or something like that. Just something different. I'm not a big fan of Cena and Mahal and Roman Reigns and Lesnar at WrestleMania. We'll see if it happens. I mean, you guys can look back on this video 6 months from now if that's what ends up happening. I'm saying in advance, I will not be a fan if those are the 2 main event matches for WrestleMania. This one comes from SCW. Should WWE go back to co-branded pay-per-views to make them feel more special? What would be your dream pay-per-view calendar year? Well, you already have SummerSlam. I like the idea that the big 4 are co-branded pay-per-views, and I think that's fine. I'm okay with single-branded pay-per-views. I think doing 2 pay-per-views a month is a bit overkill. On one hand, I do like it because it keeps things a little bit more interesting, and it does help site traffic a little bit when there's 2 pay-per-views in a month instead of 1, but as a fan and a viewer, I think it's overkill. So for a calendar year, I think you do the co-branded pay-per-views for the main shows, WrestleMania, SummerSlam. Just don't make them more than 5 hours. I think 4 hours is good enough. 3 hours for a single branded pay-per-view, and then 4 hours for a combined pay-per-view. And I would get rid of the themed pay-per-views, like Hell in a Cell, TLC, and so forth, Elimination Chamber. And just use the stipulation matches when you have a good storyline reasoning for it. I like the idea of Shane McMahon and Kevin Owens inside Hell in a Cell, but at the same time, there's a pay-per-view called Hell in a Cell, so it feels like you have to have a mandatory Hell in a Cell match. And to me, it would just be more organic if the match was billed as Hell in a Cell without there being a pay-per-view with the same name coming up. I'm sure many of you would agree with me on that. Oops. Botch. Got this one here from Dave Lesnar. Aaron, which top star from the past decade would you say is underappreciated? Mine would be Batista and The Miz. Why are you using PAIV1? I know you've submitted a lot of questions, Dave Lesnar, many in fact. So, what is up with you guys using PAIV1 when you're not a first-time asker? That is for first-time askers only. Now, to answer your question, I do think both of them are underappreciated by WWE. I know the fans appreciate The Miz. I think Batista is not appreciated by either management or the fans. Batista is definitely up there. I always enjoyed Batista. I thought that he had a lot of credibility. He was never the best talker, but when he turned heel in 2010, 2009 I should say, he really shined on the mic. I loved the heel turn on Rey Mysterio at Bragging Rights. You're supposed to be my friend. That was great. And the whole spotlight gimmick. I loved it. Batista was awesome. Unfortunately, people soured on him when he came back in 2014. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. But if Batista had come back as a heel, I think he would have gone over more with the fans, or if he had come back at a different time. I like Batista. I think he's a very entertaining personality, and I think he had some good matches for a guy his size. But the #1 guy, in my opinion, who has been underappreciated by both the company and the fans is The Big Show. I said this after that steel cage match. I thought Big Show put on a hell of a performance, and I think some people look at him in a negative light because they see him as being lazy, and maybe there was a period where Big Show was not in the best of shape and phoned in performances, but also he was being booked poorly. Big Show had an amazing career when you look at it. Over 20 years in the business, going back to 1995. He came into WCW and his first pay-per-view match was against Hulk Hogan. Within 1 year of being in the business, he defeated Ric Flair to win the WCW World title. And in that first year, he was doing some very agile things. He was doing drop kicks and moves off the top rope, if you look back at some of his matches in WCW. Even though he was green, he did some impressive stuff for a man of his size. He was the 4th member of the NWO, right after Hogan, Hall, and Nash. If you want to count DiBiase, maybe he was the 5th. I mean, they both ended up in the NWO around the same time, but he was one of the early members when it was still an elite group. And he went to WWE, he feuded with Austin, He was WWE champion, WCW champion. He held tag team titles. He was all over the place. He had a lot of heel and face turns, and that's part of the bad booking of him. I think he might have the record for the most heel and face turns, but Big Show was in a lot of key storylines over the years, and you know, he fought Floyd Mayweather at WrestleMania. Big Show has taken the AA off the top rope by John Cena, and all these different things, you know, the superplex with the ring breaking. Big Show did a lot in wrestling, and I think the fans really underappreciate the guy. And he's funny too. You know, he came out there as the showster. As Jerry Lawler would say, he did Hogan better than Hogan. And even Knucklehead, I thought was an entertaining movie. I thought it was one of the better WWE movies. Big Show can do comedy. He can be serious. Just a great entertainer. And, you know, this is my rant. I think Big Show is very much underappreciated by the internet fans and by the company, WWE. Definite Hall of Fame material. And just seems like a really class act outside the business. Seems like a really down-to-earth guy. And I think Big Show's great. I think that fans really should look back at his career and consider him to be one of the all-time greats. Maybe the best giant of all time, you know. With all due respect to Andre, I mean, Big Show has really had a very lengthy career. When you think about it, over 20 years. At a guy his size, I mean, that's a hell of an accomplishment. I mean, Big Show, I think, deserves all the credit in the world. So, moving on here. That was a great question because it got me to really go on a rant. This one comes from Ravishing Raven. Since Triple H's role for the Reigns and Rollins match was to put them over, could a match with Angle at WrestleMania be potentially a classic? I guess. I mean, I think Kurt Angle and Triple H would have a very good match. Triple H would be one of the best opponents for Angle. The two know each other very well. Triple H would work safe with Angle, so there are a lot of positives to it. I'm just not a fan of Triple H being in WrestleMania matches, but I get it. I understand why it is a logical thing to do to have Triple H at WrestleMania because of his name value. It's WrestleMania. It's the biggest show of the year. You want all guns blazing. You want to pull out all the stops for that pay-per-view. I get it. So I would be okay with it. I'd rather see Kurt Angle versus somebody else versus Randy Orton, or preferably I'd like to see Kurt Angle in a fresh matchup, but I understand being cautious. So I'd like to see Angle back in the ring. And if that means he has to face Triple H, then so be it. Got this one here from Converse Craig. With reports of Luke Harper being repackaged, do you think he could be booked as a monster heel? I'm not sure what you do with Luke Harper as far as repackaging goes that can make him any more legitimate than he's been in the past. The fact is they already dropped the ball with him earlier this year. He should have been in the WrestleMania match. They should have called an audible and made it a triple threat and not have done the special effects. I mean, hell, I think if Bray was only going to be a 1-month champion, why not put the belt on Luke Harper instead of Randy Orton? I don't know. I just felt like Harper had some real momentum. What do you do to repackage him? You could clean him up, but part of the appeal to him is that he's this dirty, dirty guy from the woods or whatever he's supposed to be. So I'm not sure what you can do to make him any more credible. I mean, you cut his beard off, you shave his head. What do you do with the guy? I'm not sure. I'm just not seeing it visually how you can change him and get him more over than he already was 6 months ago. I'm not really sure. What do you guys think? It just feels like the ship has sailed. He had that opportunity. The company failed to capitalize on it, and now it's gone. And I'm not sure what you can do with the guy to get him back at that level again. Got this one here from Cruz. I know you do not cover much of TNA, but do you think it's low of TNA to bring up the Rosemary Sexy Star incident? I really don't care at this point. I understand their perspective. They're desperate. They're going to do whatever it takes to get viewers, and it's a hot topic in wrestling, and TNA/GFW has an affiliation with AAA, so, you know, they feel that they can acknowledge it and maybe get some more viewers. I mean, there's that old attitude, coming from Eric Bischoff, I should say, controversy creates cash. And their attitude is, it's controversial, so we'll mention it on TV and maybe it'll boost viewership. I get it. I understand why they did it. Do I think it was a smart move? Well, I'm not sure if it was a smart move or a stupid move. I just think it's insignificant one way or another. It's not going to do anything to boost business. Again, it's desperation on their part, and I really don't think anybody cares that much. I mean, I'm not invested enough in GFW to be offended by it, and I don't think a lot of fans are going to be offended by it because they just don't care at this point. It's indifference, and it doesn't matter what they do at this stage of the game. They've already done so many stupid and offensive things that, you know, I think myself and others are just numb to it at this point. This one comes from ASG. Pete Dunn is great, but I fear his size could lead WWE to overlook him on the main roster. Tyler Bate, to your thoughts. Great point. I mean, in this era, it's not as important, and we've seen smaller guys get over more than ever because of people like Daniel Bryan and CM Punk succeeding. That has really opened the door for younger talent that are of smaller stature to make it and have opportunities. But still, at the end of the day, WWE is all about larger-than-life characters, and you have to be able to look the part. Does Pete Dunne look like a larger-than-life character? No. Does Tyler Bate look like a larger-than-life character? No. They're great wrestlers, but at the end of the day, you have to have that larger-than-life persona to really make it to the top. Will they have success in WWE? I think they will, because I do believe that, to a degree, the cream rises to the top, and these guys are very talented, and the talent will get them somewhere in WWE. How far? That remains to be seen. WWE marketing, if they can do something with these guys despite the small size, then there's definitely some hope for them. Look at Rey Mysterio. Very small, but he was a huge success in WWE. They made a lot of money off of him. They sold merchandise, and they managed to take this small guy and make him larger than life. So it can be done with good marketing and good promotion. So if the WWE machine gets behind them, I think they do have a shot at making it big and becoming major successes, even if they don't have the size. But it is an uphill battle. I mean, if you're somebody like Roman Reigns or somebody like Braun Strowman, then it's going to be easier for you, definitely. Got this one here from King Bay Side High. It's been a while. Do you think WWE can pull off an ultimate feud with John Cena and Undertaker, or will it fall flat? I don't think it should happen. I think the ship has sailed. I think that it should have been done a long time ago, and I think this past year's WrestleMania was the last real good opportunity to do it. I think Undertaker should be done. That's my opinion on it. I don't see the need in him coming back for one more match. Yeah, you can do it. You can do Undertaker versus John Cena, but I think it's not going to be nearly as effective as it would have been years ago. I've been saying for years they should have done Cena versus Undertaker when the streak was still intact in a submission match, because John Cena, the whole thing about him is he never gives up, and that's how WWE has marketed him for so many years, yet The Undertaker has the undefeated streak, and in a submission match, somebody has to give up. I think it would have been extremely appealing, that kind of match, and it would have had a tremendous amount of drama with Cena putting Undertaker in the STF, and maybe you could have Undertaker do the triangle choke or whatever submission holds he comes up with, Hell's Gate. It would have been very dramatic and very intense. Would have been an amazing match if they had done that. But once Undertaker's streak ended, I started to lose interest in it, and then I think after this year, I think Undertaker's done. I don't think he should come back for another WrestleMania. I think that's it, leaving his gear in the ring. To me, that was the symbolic end of Undertaker, and I think that him coming back, it's desperate, and WWE doesn't need to go that route. I mean, they really don't. That'll wrap it up for this edition of NoDQ Video. Again, if you enjoyed it, if you thought my insight was good, please share this video. Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, MySpace, any message board that you go on, any friend you have. I'm sure you have friends that watch wrestling. Tell them about NoDQ Video, have them check out this video, And I just like to say thank you all for your support and watching the videos. Stay tuned for more. This is going to be a very busy week. We got No Mercy predictions coming up, and I got a big edition of No DQ Live planned for Monday night, Tuesday night, and then Saturday before the pay-per-view, I'm planning on doing No DQ Live, and I'm going to be doing live videos on Sunday, possibly a live video right after No Mercy, maybe during No Mercy, we'll see. Got a lot of plans for this week, so stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the latest regarding No Mercy, and I will see you guys next time.